What's up, YouTube? Mike from Mass here, Mass Aquariums, and in tonight's video I want to talk a little bit about coral selection for a nano reef tank. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions over the past couple months of how I sustain my small reef tank. A lot of comments of how a lot of people don't think that you can successfully maintain a small reef tank, that when something goes wrong, it goes wrong big, or when something goes wrong, your whole tank's going to crash and it's going to be a mess. So why even bother? But there's a lot to be said for successfully keeping a small reef tank, and I have a lot of videos out there on how you can do it, and it's not as difficult as you may seem. Basically, what you want to do is make it simple on yourself by keeping this reef tank and not trying to make it something that it can't be, and that's when you get into trouble. So in tonight's video, I just really want to talk about a few coral species that you can choose for your nano reef tank that will thrive, and that you won't need to dose for or take care of a whole lot. And this is all in my experience and what has worked for me. So I just want to share that with you guys. So my number one is some zoanthids. Now, everybody loves zoas. Everybody who gets into reef tanks wants to get zoas. And the reason being is because they're absolutely gorgeous. They come in a variety of colors, all different colors, and they spread fairly quickly in a tank with low maintenance and no dosing. So I recommend getting any type of zoa for your nano reef tank. There are a few more difficult ones to keep, but there is a whole list of zoas that you can keep that will spread like crazy throughout your tank and make your tank look very beautiful and lush with corals. Now, number two is also a big favorite, is GSP or green star polyps. Now, a lot of people don't like to use these because they tend to take over a tank, but if you can isolate them to specific rocks or specific parts of your tank, they look really beautiful. It's a green, almost looks like a grass type coral. They open up gorgeous every morning, and they really bring a nice green color to your tank. If you think that they're starting to take over a certain part, they're super easy to propagate. You can take a razor blade and literally slice right where you want them off, peel them off the rock, bring them to your local fish store, put them in another tank, sell them to your friends, give them to your friends, trade them at a local trade, and really fast growing, very easy to take care of. Also, no dosing, nano, low tech reef tanks. My number three is Fabia. Now, I really didn't do a lot of research on this coral, but I was able to get a hold of some when I first got this tank. Now, this tank is roughly 15 months old, and my Fabia is growing quite well. Keep in mind, folks, all these corals I'm saying is for a nano, low-tech reef where there's no dosing, and all I'm doing is one water change every week of about 50%. Now, so these corals are really probably going to grow super slow, but you can get away with Fabia. It's a nice coral. It's nice and bright under blues. It's not a super aggressive coral as long as you keep it, within a distance from other corals. And it's going to spread for you, and it's going to stay beautiful, and it's very, very needs moderate flow, moderate light, and it works really well in this tank. My number four is Acan. Now, there's tons of types of Acan. Acan Lord, Acan this, Acan that. I love Acans. I've grown. A lot of people get hooked on zoas. They start off with zoas, and they get hooked on all sorts of zoas. I want this color. I want this. I want Super Mario. I want Dragon Eye. I want this type of this one, psychedelic this. There's so many different types, and they get hooked, just like me. Lately, especially in my 40-gallon reef, I've been hooked on Acans. I have bought so many different types. of rainbow and blue and purple, and there's just so many different varieties, and they're just really, really beautiful. Now when they're closed up, they look like a tiny little stone, but when it's lights time and the reef's really ramping up during the middle of the day and they're really open, they are absolutely gorgeous. They're just like fat and fluffy and gorgeous. And I've had great success in my 10-gallon low-tech tank with Acans. I have a nice little Acan off to the lower right. I started off with one head, and I've got about 7 or 8 of them. They just open up really beautiful. They're really bright. They make a great addition to any tank. They can be kept right on the substrate, and they'll spread really nice over a plug and right over your substrate. Really, really beautiful coral, and in my opinion can be kept in a low-tech tank, no problem at all. Now my number 5, which may be controversial, is Galaxia. My very first coral in this tank was a Galaxia Coral from my buddy, and it's right in the middle of the screen here. Fish just swam past it. It's a very aggressive coral from what I've done research and what I've heard, but if it's kept far enough away from the other corals, it will thrive, and it does not grow all that quick, and it can be kept in low-tech conditions, just like this. It's produced 6, 7, probably close to 10 more heads. It can have really long, up to 10-inch sweepers that come out at night when other corals are threatening it, but as long as you keep it separated, it's a very beautiful coral. It looks absolutely unbelievable under blues. It is an aggressive coral, but like I said, it can be kept on the substrate in medium to high flow with medium to high light. And sorry folks, a little cutout there on the battery. So Galaxia, yeah, I've had some great success with this coral, and I absolutely love it. It can be aggressive, but if you're kept in the right conditions, away from other corals, it's a beautiful coral to add to your tank. Now, a lot of people do a top 5. I'm going to do a top 6. My 6th favorite low-tech coral is a Duncan. Now, there's several types of Duncans. I really like the Australian one. The Australian version, it has really beautiful lime green polyps extensions, and it is a great addition to any low-tech tank. It's non-aggressive. It can be in moderate to high flow, moderate to high light. It can be on the substrate. You can put it on the rocks. Really beautiful coral, and really stands out in a low-tech tank. Now, let me just cap this off by letting you all know that this tank is a little over 15 months, and by no means am I an expert on corals, but I'm going to tell you this is what works and has worked for me. This tank is very minimal. It has a very, very cheap LED light, and all I'm running is a small circulation pump and a hang on the back filter with ChemiPure Blue and a poly filter pad in the filter. And that's all, folks. And this tank has been very successful. As you can see, the coralline algae has taken over the back of the tank and the sides and the rocks, and all the zoas are spreading like crazy, and all the fish are happy. So you can do it, folks. If you want to set up a low-tech tank, you can definitely do it. I will be glad to answer any of your questions in the comments below, and I hope you got some good info on a little bit of corals that are good for a low-tech tank. So this is Mike from Mass Aquariums. I'm out.